Hi, I am Mercy Ojolade. I am one of the tutors at the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland. So how do we incorporate heritage into the training of our actors at RCS? We deliver a programme which tries to cater for the needs of the students and the different backgrounds that they come from. In the first year, most of our students will start with acting. We do not reference who the practitioners are necessarily, but the school of work really is the Russian practitioner, Stanislavski. As students continue in their first year of training at RCS, they will then do contemporary scenes. They will also study Chekhov, usually, but not always. They might also have a look at some Ibsen, the Norwegian playwright, and they might also study some of the American plays, for example, an Arthur Miller. They also will do a Shakespeare project. I'm thinking about William Shakespeare as an English playwright. In the third year, the students go on and do professional or external productions from lots of different playwrights from all over the world. So just thinking about some of those practitioners or playwrights that I've mentioned, we can already start to see the patterns. We've mentioned all of them, I believe, as male. Practitioners or playwrights, they are all from Europe, with the exception, of course, of the Americans. So what we start to have is a picture of perhaps a very limited view of the work that we present to the students in terms of where it comes from, which makes us question about heritage and whose heritage we teach on the programme. So alongside the acting modules that the students engage with in their training, as part of movement, they are taught by two of our tutors, our practitioners, who are trained as Lecoq specialists. Within the voice department, students work under the background of work from Nadine George, a British practitioner specialising in how we use our voice. And even adding those two to the canon of work with the acting practitioners, so many men or male-identifying practitioners. Already we can start to see a discrepancy between what we teach and to whom we teach it, because we try to have a split of equal, whether it's gender identities within the cohort. One of the ways we try to address this balance is within the new work module, which happens in the second year. And this is really an opportunity for students to have their own voice and to speak from a place of truth for them. Where we can, we encourage students to use, whether it's their own language or cultural identities or heritage, just so that they're also engaged in telling stories from a very personal level. So alongside the solo projects, we also, within New Work module, we also have a section on new writing. And this is an opportunity for our students to encounter and engage with texts from all over the world. It's really important that they engage with material from writers from different backgrounds, writers who have different gender identities, writers who write about subject matters which are very culturally specific. How do we work with a piece of text which has a different language, for example? Or how does a student understand a writer's perspective when it's different to their own? And this is important to us just because it's another opportunity to reflect different students' backgrounds in the material that we use. For us, we're based in Glasgow, in Scotland, and that is a big part of the heritage of the nation, of where we are geographically. And that is not yet something that we necessarily represent in a fully complete way, but it is something we are working towards. How do we make space for Scots language, which has become a minoritised language? Within the voice department, there are opportunities for students to engage in Scots text, whether it's poetry or material. But it's just a lovely way to really platform and profile an area of heritage which is otherwise potentially marginalised. And some of the ways that we do that is within solo work. So every student will present a solo piece of theatre that they have written. They will be assigned a mentor. Often we'll have one male-identifying and one female-identifying mentor where we can. They will also engage in Off-Kilter, which is a festival of new work, where students work in groups to present or to perform and devise and create a piece of work which will be prepared and shown to the public within a festival of work. That is a big question for us at the moment. What is classical? Who gets to decide? Is my classic the same as your classic? One of the ways we're thinking about this is whether or not we use the term, because sometimes that particular term might elicit a sense of elitism. We know that it can offer some suggested ideas of things, and so as not to do that and not to alienate any of our students from lots of different heritage backgrounds, we are in the process of thinking about what other words or terminology can we use. For example, can we use dates to specify a time period? Can we discuss themes or styles of writing so that we can be really explicit and clear, but also so that that doesn't stop us addressing other pieces of work which might come under that category but from different parts of the world. When students audition for the Conservatoire, we ask them to prepare 2 speeches. At RCS, we say students can choose a classical monologue and a contemporary monologue, or they can choose 2 contemporary monologues. Offering 2 contemporary monologues is quite modern, I would say, but we're quite glad to do that because we recognise that classics or a classical monologue will mean different things to different people. There are areas that we need to think about in how do we represent the heritage of people from the global majority? How do we represent the heritage from female identifying individuals? How do we represent the heritage of people for whom or for work that isn't text-based? We know that in the English-speaking world, we rely heavily on text-based work. But by doing that, are we discounting, are we alienating other heritage backgrounds for whom actually it could be an oral history or way of working rather than the word on the piece of paper and the text in the conventional way that we might know it? So these are some of the questions that we're having to ask ourselves at the Conservatoire. And it's definitely a challenge, but we know it's part of a journey. And it's all for the benefit of the students and for the benefit of the training, of course.